Thank you so much for joining me for this gentle yin yoga practice designed for winter and to support the energies of the winter season. In yin yoga, this correlates to the kidney and urinary bladder meridians, which run along the whole back line of your body and around into your brain from the sole of your foot to the top of your head, and as well as running along the inner hips and inner thighs. So we'll be getting into some yummy inner hip work today in this rather short practice. If you are a patron, first of all, thank you so much for being a patron. I couldn't do it without you. And you will also be receiving an accompanying PDF that lists the postures we practiced today, as well as some more that will round out this yin yoga for winter practice, focusing on the kidney and urinary bladder meridians. And the kidney meridians are symbolized by the water element as well, and nourishing the body. For most of us, winter is the time where we can observe the quietude of nature, the slowness and the stillness of nature, where things appear to be perhaps dead if you're living up north, certainly, that can seem like it when all of the trees have dropped their leaves and a blanket of snow is just covering the earth and the skies are gray. There's this deep inward sense of movement that can be balanced in this practice. And I wanted to just share with you a couple of words by the amazing yin yoga teacher and writer Sarah Powers from her book, Insight Yoga. She says, "The kidney bladder pairs of meridians and organs in Chinese medicine are the foundation of yin and yang balance for all the other organs. Like primordial parents, they are fundamental for birth, metamorphosis, and reproduction. The kidney meridian flows up the interior and center of the body, while the urinary bladder meridian flows down the entire back of the body. They are a storehouse of vital energy and need to remain balanced for all other meridians and organs to function well. In Chinese medicine, the kidneys are often considered the officials of energetic work. The kidneys are the mansion of fire and water, the residence of yin and yang, the channel of life and death. They link the past and the future." And that last quote was from Francesca Diebschlag from this book, this wonderful book, Insight Yoga by Sarah Powers. If you're a yin yoga practitioner, I highly recommend this resource. And as we dive into our practice today, of course, if you've got any props at home, any yoga blocks, wonderful, have them handy. If you've got blankets or cushions, bolsters, just bring it all out and let's go ahead and get started in a comfortable seat. And I invite you to elevate your hips so that your hips are higher than your knees. And this creates a wonderful foundation for our seat. This allows the natural length of the spine to come into play, the natural curvature of the spine to be established. As you lift through your heart and broaden gently across your shoulders, perhaps closing your eyes or relaxing your gaze, taking just a couple of moments here to tune in, to let yourself arrive in the present moment. when we think of the subtle flow of your breath. And perhaps you could start to sense the subtle flow of your breath in and out. We can also consider the subtle life force energy that rides on the waves of the breath. Inhaling into the base of your lungs, creating softness in your belly. Exhaling fully, letting your navel draw back toward your spine. Breathing in, soft belly. Breathing out, letting go. This practice today will combine some gentle yoga and some yin yoga. Yin is embodied by its longer holds, its stillness. We're not pushing, we're not striving. We will not be coming to standing in today's practice, just FYI. This is a wonderful opportunity for you to get more grounded, more present, to anchor into your being. You may take one hand and place it over your heart and the other hand over your belly. Perhaps you feel the flow of breath down into the base of your lungs, as if breathing into your belly, the breath rises up across your heart into collarbones. Exhale slowly and thoroughly. Like that water element symbolized by the kidney meridian. The meridians are a map, a way of understanding how this intricate, mysterious, wondrous, luminous life force energy flows through us and around us. And we see parallels between Chinese medicine and the yoga tradition. In yoga, we refer to these rivers of life force energy, these channels of life force energy, as nadis. And similarly, of course, in Chinese medicine, they are referred to as meridians. They're different, complex systems, but we can certainly see the parallels between them. Let's enjoy just a couple more breaths. And on your next inhale, float your arms out and up. Let your fingertips connect overhead. Exhale, glide your hands down to your heart. Lift your heart just a little bit to meet your thumbs. Feel the texture of your palms connected. Feel grounded through your hips, your sitting bones. And then we'll breathe in, sweep the fingertips back up, and exhale, melt your arms down by either side of you. Just coming into a gentle seated twist, taking your right hand, sweeping it over to the left, sitting up tall, and then exhale to twist. Just rotating on the axis of the spine, so you're not leaning back into your back hand. Rising up through the crown as you inhale, shoulders remain relaxed. Exhale, gentle rotation from your deep center, from the left side waist, left side ribs. Breathe in, float back to center, send the arms up, maybe reach through the fingertips, lift through your heart, and exhale, twist over to the other side. So the right hand is directly behind you, supporting you like a second spine, not back too far. Inhale, Get a little taller. Exhale, sink a little deeper into this twist. No force. On your next inhale, rotate slowly back to center. Send the arms all the way up. And then exhale once again, sweep your arms out and down. Let's move into our first yin yoga pose, a butterfly position. Bringing the soles of your feet together. And remember, yin is not about going into your full range of motion. Even if you maybe sometimes can get rather deep in this shape or any of the shapes we're practicing today, we still want to take it very easily, and we use props for that reason, one of those reasons. So if you have a big old body pillow or a cushion at home or a bolster, then you might bring it out in front of your torso here. You could also take a block or two and even prop up that bolster, making it a little higher so that you can comfortably rest your torso. You could also bring your block or two blocks on top of your bolster like so. Getting creative, making a little tower as we rise up through the heart yet again, and then slowly hinge at your hips, wading into the pose. Again, no need to go into your full range of motion. You don't have to have your heels hugged up really close. You can take a little bit of a wider stance if you like. And it can be great to still be elevated on your hips if you're sitting on the front edge of your blanket or meditation cushion. That helps to really just support the lower back for most people and the alignment of the pelvis. You might prop up your head in your hands or rest your forehead on a block or anything you've got. Let's take a few deep breaths here. Could you observe the gentle ebb and flow of your breath? Could you notice sensations that arise, notice thoughts that arise without getting too caught up into any particular sensation or thought? Maybe you feel the expansion and contraction of the breath around the back of your body, your side ribs. Now slowly and slowly take another breath in and out. And then walk your hands back up, lifting through your heart. As we enter into these deeper, slower shapes where we marinate for a time, we're targeting the deeper connective tissue in the body, around the joints, the fascia, the ligaments, and so we also want to take a moment after each yin pose just to recalibrate before moving on. You could slowly set your props out to the side for a moment, maybe very gingerly hug your knees together. Give yourself a hug. There might be some tenderness in the inner hips and thighs and across the back where we were just targeting. Walk your hands back behind you. You can flex your ankles and windshield wiper your knees gently side to side. Unwinding here. And then come on back to center. Let's extend the left leg out and bring the sole of your right foot to the inside of the left thigh. Now, at first, we'll keep the foot flexed, a more yang expression, right? Yang is emblematic of the sun. It's dynamic, it's outward, it's mobile, whereas yin is emblematic of the moon. It's passive, it's quiet, it's grounding, it's lunar. One isn't superior to the other. One isn't good, one isn't bad. They're both necessary. They're both co-essential components. And so we'll just start with a little more yang energy here. So there's flexion in the ankle. Your toes are pointing up toward the sky, lifting through your heart. Now you might take that prop, that bolster or cushion, and place it right on top of your extended leg. Lift up. Let's stretch the right arm all the way up. And then as you exhale, melt down to the left. You might bend your left elbow and prop up your head and your hand, stretching through those top fingertips while still keeping your shoulders relaxed, drawing down away from your ears. Nice and grounded across both hips. And then when you're ready, make this expression a little more yin. Bend your top elbow, bring your hand behind the back of your head. Maybe even let go of that flexion in your left foot across your ankle. Relax your toes. Relax through the sole of the foot. This passive expression allows us to target that deeper, denser connective tissue, while simultaneously breathing down the right side body, awakening across your right side. We'll keep this practice a little shorter today, so not holding these as long as we might in a full-length yin yoga practice, but just a little taste. A little bit of yoga is better than no yoga at all, my friends. Let's breathe in deeply. You can extend through your right arm. Breathe into some vibrance here. As you ground down through your low body, slowly rise up through your center. Melt right hand down to earth. Pause, notice. And then we'll gently switch sides. You can extend the opposite leg, bringing the sole of the foot to the inner thigh. We can start by flexing your right foot, right toes pointing up toward the sky. Maybe you bring your bolster on top of your extended leg, sitting up tall, sweeping your left arm up and overhead now. Big breath in, long lines of energy. And then settle in, soften into the yin expression, bending right elbow, left elbow. So we don't want the head to just completely drape forward. And we can even use the top hand, maybe behind the back of the skull a bit, to prevent the head from drifting forward in space too much. So many of us have our head and neck positioned in such a way that our head shifts forward. We can draw the back of the skull back ever so gently. Maybe you're relaxing across your right ankle and your right toes. Breathe down the left side of your body. Maybe you feel the breath or just imagine it gliding down your right side ribs, left side ribs. And gently extend through your top arm. Feeling grounded through your legs, rise up through your heart. Melt. Left hand down to earth. Pause. Breathe. You can set your props once again out to the side. Let's bend both knees, hug them in for another moment. Feel free once again to walk your hands back behind you, swiveling your knees side to side. And then return to center. A little more yang movement here, since we're doing a bit of a blend of yin and gentle. You can keep your palms grounded down, anchor down through the soles of your feet, and lift through your heart. Hug your shoulder blades together. Now you can stay right here, or you can lift your hips, coming into a reverse tabletop. Feeling your tailbone lengthen toward the backs of your knees, a little engagement in your quadriceps, your thighs, and your glutes, pressing down into the earth with your heels, broadening across your heart. If it feels okay, you might drape your head back, but you certainly do not have to do that. You can keep your head and neck in a neutral position or tuck your chin. Let's take one more breath. And then exhale, melt your hips back down. Sweep your legs back behind you, and let's come into that inverse, coming into tabletop. And so if you've got a blanket, I highly encourage you to place that blanket underneath your knees. Knees are stacked under your hips. Wrists are stacked under wrists. Knees are stacked under your hips. Knees are stacked under, let's see what's going on here. Knees are stacked under your hips. Wrists are stacked under your shoulders. We'll move through some gentle rounds of cow and cat. Breathing and lifting through your heart, softening into the saddle of your low back. Exhale, round your back, chin to chest. Enjoy a few more rounds here. Slowly synchronizing your breath with the movements. You might want to wag your hips side to side. Let your head and your neck float side to side. As we come on back to center, stretching your right toes back behind you on the floor. You can walk your left fingertips forward on the mat. Feel free to stay right here, zipping up a little bit through your abdomen. You could lift your right heel. We don't want to point those right toes out. Right toes angled directly down toward the earth. Long line of energy from your right inner thigh, extending back through your right inner heel. Then maybe you float your left arm up. I find that smiling often really helps here. You can stay right here. Breathe. Extending through the fingertips all the way back through the heel. Maybe you bend your right knee. Maybe you extend your left arm back behind you. Maybe you find your foot today. You can be in any variation. Honor your body. One more deep breath in. Feeling nice and grounded across your right palm and your left leg solid. Then slowly, let's release. Step or sweep your right foot up in between your hands, bending your right knee, stacking your right knee directly on top of your ankle. If you've got blocks, they can be really wonderful here. You might play and adjust with the height of your blocks. And let's tuck those back toes under. Lift through the back leg. Breathe in and lift through your heart. So there's this long line of energy from now your left heel and even your left inner ankle and the left inseam of your leg. Sturdy in your right leg. Knee is directly over the ankle, so we're not hinging too far forward. Drawing forward through your sternum, broad across your collarbones, lengthening through your crown. You could always, likewise, keep your back knee down on the earth. Let's take another deep breath in. You can ground down through your left palm, maybe placing it on a lower height on the block, or just bringing your left hand down to the mat. As we stretch the right arm up for a twist here. A little more dynamic, a little more yang energy. Breathe in and then breathe out. Bring that right hand back down. Melt your left knee down and extend your right leg out for a half split. Ardha Hanumanasana. You can begin again by flexing at your right ankle, just because that can sometimes feel so juicy for the calf muscles and the hamstrings, especially if you've got some tight hamstrings or calves. Maybe spread across the toes, using the support of the blocks to maintain integrity in your spine so we're not rounding too much. And then let's make this a little more yin. Relax across your ankle and your toes. Now, typically we do not blend yin and yang energies, so this is a bit of a unique practice. But we're still targeting the areas that run along the entire back line of your body and the inner thighs, those kidney meridians. Letting this balance of mindful movement and mindful stillness cultivate a little more presence within you. Letting there be this sense of traction from your right heel running along the back of the leg as your right hip draws up and back. Grounding down through your back leg very slowly. Melt your right leg back to meet your left. Let's move into child's pose. You can bring your knees a little wider than your hips. Glide your hands forward. Melt down to the mat using any props that you like. Maybe a block beneath your forehead or a bolster beneath your torso to make this more restorative. If you'd like, you could also wiggle your arms closer together, forearms and elbows on the ground, hands connect, bend at your elbows, walk your elbows a little bit farther forward toward the top of the mat as you drape your hands behind the back of your neck. Perhaps thumbs touch at about C5 or so. If your arms are in that reverse prayer position, you can slowly release them. And then let your next breath move you, guiding you back up to tabletop, stacking shoulders on top of wrists, spreading through pads of fingertips. Feel free to sway your hips gently side to side again. Maybe let head and neck sway side to side. Perhaps draw big circles in the air with your hips, one direction and then the other. Let's extend the left toes back on the earth. A little more energy, a little more yang in the core, broad across the chest. You can walk your right fingertips forward and feel free to stay right here or lift left leg and right hand. Pressing back dynamically through your left heel, zipping up through your core. You can stay here, or you could bend your left knee, right arm sweeps back. Maybe you find your foot today. Stay with your breath. You could keep your gaze soft and steady on a place on the ground in front of your mat. On your next exhale, let it go. Set your right foot down, step or sweep. Your left foot in between your hands, left knee stacked over the ankle. You could bring in any blocks if you like. Tucking your back toes under if you wish as an option for a little more energy, or if you prefer to steep in the yin variation, keep that back knee grounded either way. Breathing in through the heart, broad across the chest. There are these opposite lines of energy as we're drawing back through the back foot, lifting through the crown. You can ground through your right hand, maybe set your right hand directly down on the mat, and then peel your left arm up so you're either in a more yin, passive variation, which targets the hip flexor and the quadriceps of the right leg, sinking a little deeper. Or if you prefer, lifting through your back leg, stretching up through those fingertips, big breath in, and then exhale, let's let it go. We'll all bring that right knee back down to the mat as you extend your left leg. You might wiggle your left heel farther forward for this half split. Feel free to flex your right ankle, get a little more juicy stretch in the muscles. And then eventually relax across the ankle, relax across your toes, sinking into that yin. Perhaps you notice the subtle cooling sensation of the breath as you inhale in the tip of your nose. And as you exhale, you notice the subtle warming sensation of the breath in the tip of your nose. Ground through the back leg. Slowly slide your left knee to meet the right. You can set your props out by your sides here. And let's melt into child's pose once again. You might be bringing your fingertips together, wiggling your elbows a little closer together and farther away from you to bend at your elbows and lift your hands up and back for reverse prayer. Melting your hands back down to the mat. Let's slowly roll back to sit back and pause, observing, soaking up those postures so far. We'll move into one last yin posture for this abbreviated practice today. 2 variations. You can stay with your knees bent as they are if this position feels okay, but as always, honor your body, never force, don't push, and go easy on yourself. Easier said than done, right? That's why we need yin yoga and meditation. It can be really nice to have a blanket spread out for a little more cushion on your knees as we move towards saddle pose. And it can be lovely to place props behind you. You can either place your bolster behind you, maybe even propping your bolster up with a block or 2. And again, if being in this position isn't suitable for you today, you can bring your legs in front and maybe soles of the feet are together in a butterfly position, or maybe as we lie back, your knees stay bent, pointing toward the sky, and you lie back on your props, allowing your arms to open in this butterfly position. Really beautiful shape. Otherwise, you may be keeping your knees bent and your feet behind you in more of a hero's pose as we sink back for saddle, which targets a little deeper into the front of the thighs and the hip flexors, maybe even getting into the psoas here, in the abdomen. You might also float your arms up and overhead, grasping for opposite elbows, making a frame. Allowing gravity to just wash over you. Sometimes we are so caught up, so busy doing, that just slowing down to be is a gift in and of itself. You can remain in this position for as long as you like. And then you can extend out your legs fully, lie back fully, and soak up being present, taking all the time that you need. When you are ready, you could rest one hand over your heart, one hand over your low belly, reconnecting to the flow of your breath and that subtle life force energy, that prana, that chi. Inhaling, palms connect at heart center. Feel free to exhale with a big sigh. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for making this time for you. When you are ready, you can place one hand over your heart, one hand over your low belly, reconnecting to your breath, reconnecting to that subtle life force energy that flows through you, your prana, your chi. Soaking up the benefits of your practice today. We can inhale, arms float out and up, no effort. Palms connect, hands glide to heart center. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for taking this time for you. I bow to you.